Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Tech Talks Daily podcast, where every day we uncover the latest and greatest innovations transforming industries across the globe. I'm your host, Neil C. Hughes, and today I've got a special treat for all you hospitality tech enthusiasts out there. Because joining us today is Austen Asadorian from SevenRooms. Now, the company has been revolutionising the guest experience and retention strategies within the hospitality industry for many years. In fact, they've been on this podcast several times. Their co-founder, Joel, has shared the story behind the company too. But when I read that they've launched a new tool called Pre-Shift, which aims to help streamline pre-service operations for restaurant teams, I wanted to get an inside scoop into the feature and how it works, how it's going to empower teams, how tech can enhance the guest experience, and help build unparalleled guest loyalty. So today we'll explore all that and the concepts of personalised hospitality at scale, the role of invisible in technology in making it possible, and how SevenRooms is handling privacy concerns in this data-rich era that we find ourselves. So buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to New Jersey, where Austen is waiting to speak with us today. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell everyone listening a little about who you are and what you do?
Of course, and thanks for having me, Neil. My name's Austen Asadorian. I'm the Senior Vice President of Sales here at SevenRooms. The question is, what do I do? I really help our go-to-market teams and focus on how we can penetrate further and deeper into the hospitality space and provide a tech solution and platform that allows operators to thrive in their respective business.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you on the podcast. Over the last 5 years, I have spoken with your co-founder, Joel Montaniel, a few times. But for anyone that's missed those conversations, can you just tell the listeners a little bit more about the kind of problems you're solving with tech at SevenRooms?
Yeah, of course. So SevenRooms at a really high level, it's a revenue generating and restaurant optimization platform. And, we're solving problems at every touch point of a restaurant's life, from how to acquire guests, how to provide better service, and ultimately how to drive repeat business and increase revenue and profitability. Sales is the lifeblood of a restaurant. So how can we provide tools and solutions for them at every touch point of those guest journeys where they can maximize their opportunity, provide that great experience, and then ultimately bring those guests back in over and over again?
One of the reasons I was excited to invite you guys back onto the podcast is I was reading online about this new pre-shift feature that you've developed. So can you tell me more about the inspiration behind this feature and how you're further aiming to revolutionize the hospitality industry with your technology here?
Of course. And a lot of it has to do with automation. And so let's start with the challenges, specifically why pre-shift. Staffing shortages, staffing retention, time, energy, all of that is something that restaurant operators don't have the luxury of having in place all the time. So how can we provide a solution and a tool, in this case, a feature that's going to allow the restaurant operators to provide that great guest experience, streamline operations, and ultimately provide that meaningful experience for the guest that, again, is going to be something that resonates with them forever.
And I was also reading that this pre-shift tool leverages customer data to provide or help provide better detailed insights for every single shift. So can you expand on how it does that and maybe bring it to life by sharing a few specific examples of the kinds of data and tool surfaces we're talking about here?
Well, of course. Pre-shift is great. And so if you take a step back again and you think about, a restaurant, it's open for dinner. Let's say they've got 100 covers or 100 reservations on the book, maybe 200 covers. Before their service and shift, historically, there's a pre-shift meeting, right? And that's a time for the GM, the front of house manager, to gather the staff and say, hey, here's the specials tonight. Here's what's going on. We have X covers, X reservations. Here's the pacing. But to date, it's been an entirely manual lift, right? They're printing things out in the back. They don't really have great insights to who those guests are and how meaningful they might be to the business. And so if you start from the problem set, it's about now having a feature that allows them to see all this in a unified place. And so at a really high level, it's a new feature we've put out for our mobile iPad and iPhone platforms that presents operators with the key shift details that they can leverage to now inform and lead their meetings and their teams for what's about to happen, right? So it's not just saying, hey, here's our cover count, our reservations, and our pacing. It's saying, hey, here's all the reservations that are coming in. At 7:15, John and Joanne Smith are coming in. They're a regular. Remember, they love this type of wine. Last time they were here, here's some really unique information about their experience and something we can do to elevate that experience. And because SevenRooms is always capturing data throughout the guest journey, through booking and through even their post-marketing opportunities, we know more about the guests, and SevenRooms can now surface that data during this within this feature to allow operators to leverage that data to provide that great guest experience. So it's just a simple example, but it goes really long and has a really big impact for the business.
So with pre-shift aiming to save time on admin tasks in this space, then, if we were to zoom out for a moment, I'm curious, what kind of impact have you seen or do you anticipate it having on restaurant efficiency and staff productivity? Is it too early to tell, or have you got any examples around that you could share too?
Yeah, it's a really good question, Neil. So I would say it's never too early to tell. I mean, obviously we don't have the data to point directly to the outcomes, but here's what we do know. We know that restaurants are struggling to maintain staff, to manage their operations. And ultimately, when a guest walks in the front door, that's the opportunity the team has to provide that experience. And so if we're cutting down on the laborsome tasks behind the scenes, back office work, not being able to surface the right information to their team, if we can solve that problem, we know it'll have an immediate impact to the industry, right? We're leveraging our strengths here, which is data and understanding the guest. And by doing so, it's not just about solving for one restaurant, it's about solving for the industry. It's how can you use a technology to actually better perform your day-to-day tasks, whether you're a server, a host, a GM. Now with pre-shift, you'll have all this information automatically given to you, up to date. It's accessible at any moment. You can see the pacing, the tags, who's the next VIP guest coming in. Our auto tagging is always running in the background. So you're seeing in real time, hey, table 10, John Smith, they just spent $500. They're a VIP. Let's make sure we go over there. We're going to comp them a free dessert. We're going to thank them for their patronage and bring them back again and again. And so ultimately, while the data might not be there today, we know that a feature like pre-shift is going to allow operators to excel at what they're best at, and that's servicing the guests.
And for many people listening from the industry, the concept of personalized hospitality at scale will be incredibly enticing. And I personally am also very intrigued by this technology under the hood that makes it all possible, that people are, in many cases, I would imagine, blissfully unaware of, or any understanding of how it does everything that it does. So can you expand on how pre-shift achieves this, and also the role of this almost invisible technology and what it plays in the process?
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth, Neil. Invisible technology. Our VP of product uses that all the time. And the idea is technology is great when you don't understand the depths of the roots behind the scenes and how the engine is working. And so SevenRooms loves to have that concept in place where, hey, behind the scenes, there's a lot happening. There's guest data, there's auto tagging, there's guest reviews, segmentation, there's marketing. But the beautiful part is if you're a restaurant operator, SevenRooms can do all this while you're sleeping, right? And so behind the scenes, this invisible technology is driving and collecting information about every one of your guests and allowing you, and then surfacing it so that you can actually perform the tasks at hand. So specifically with pre-shift, it's all about, hey, surfacing the auto tags, surfacing the information, helping you leverage that data to provide that great experience. So that's the big outcome that we're looking for here.
And another thing that jumped out at me when I was reading about pre-shift is this invisible technology and how it's powering not just front of house staff, but also back of house employees too. So again, can you talk about some of the different ways and the different roles in the restaurant can benefit from this tool too?
Of course. I have a really good example. Last week I met with an operator, really, really high-end, famous restaurant, 3 Michelin stars. And one of the key considerations that they're looking into is back-of-house optimization, right? All of their reservations are prepaid for. They have a set menu, and you have to select these menus in advance. And so when you think about an industry where margins are extremely tight and you need to make sure you're not missing out or wasting anything, for the kitchen staff to understand exactly what they need to prepare for, what meals, what tasting menus were ordered. Hey, it's 100 covers. Here's exactly what's coming in tonight. It's going to optimize your ordering, reduce your waste, streamline your service, and also set your team up for success. So the kitchens can heavily rely on pre-shift because they know exactly what's going to happen for the upcoming service, and there will be no surprises.
And you mentioned optimization there, and I think that's so important now, especially with the ongoing labour shortages in the hospitality industry. So again, how does it help restaurants teams further optimize their operations and ensure guest satisfaction? Because it feels like the people in the industry are spinning so many different plates there. There's so many different challenges, isn't there?
Yeah, it's certainly a challenging industry. And so how can you use technology to better inform your staff, your team, even your guests? It just, you can still see it today. There's still plenty of restaurants that use pen and paper, and that's perfectly fine for, managing their needs. But ultimately, how can you optimize your business? How can you put more butts in seats, as you say? How can you provide the best guest experience? So how can you do those things, right? So with SevenRooms now, with pre-shift and all the features that are built into our platform, you have a 360-degree view of your guest and your restaurant. So now you know exactly what's happening, what part of service is going to be the most tricky when you have the highest table turns, when things are happening along the lines, when you need to fire and serve certain guests. But there's so much that we can inform the team on now. It's going to touch everybody in the restaurant. And also the guests, while they won't notice it, they're going to have a better experience. And that's how you build loyalty. That's how you build brand awareness. It's through word of mouth. It's through great service. And having those tools now to provide that experience, that's going to make all the difference in the world for these operators.
And of course, your technology is only able to do this by harnessing rich customer data to inform operations. So I've got to ask, how do you handle things like privacy concerns? Because again, it's a big topic right now, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Especially, I know you're based in the UK market. Obviously, there's a ton of laws in place, privacy policy, PII, GDPR. One of the benefits to all of our customers is that SevenRooms is a global brand, right? We operate in over 300 plus cities around the world, and we work with some of the largest brands in the world that are well ahead of these policies. And so we have an entire team dedicated to making sure that our clients are using a platform that is in line with the current regulations of a certain region and market. And so, for example, in EMEA and in Europe, there's a lot of pushing on GDPR compliance and PII, whereas, hey, in certain parts of the United States, we're not as far along. But the beautiful part is our team is dedicated to making sure that our operators are using a tool that keeps them compliant. It's one less thing they have to worry about. And so we have all this information documented. It's accessible online for all of our partners. But it's a huge part of what we do and one of the reasons why we're able to have the global scale that we have today.
Before you came on the podcast, I was doing a fair bit of Googling and trying to find information on what people were saying about this tool too. And one of the things I read, I think it was Steve Scott Springer from Spago Beverly Hills. He's already praised the feature online. So can you share some real-world feedback or case studies that just demonstrate the impact that pre-shift can have on day-to-day operations? And do you get to hear many stories like this?
It's pretty simple in its basic form. If we can help our restaurant partners make more money through all the different tools and features of our platform, that is going to be a win for them, right? So the whole idea is the more profitable you are, can you increase your spend per cover? Can you reduce your costs? These are the benefits that SevenRooms provides. On top of the ancillary benefits of having all the data. And so we have a handful of restaurants, and I'm actually looking at a few right now, that have generated hundreds of thousands of dollars by using our solution and our platform. And whether that's through the marketing automation, where we're seeing restaurants on average generate north of $5,000 a month through our marketing automation when they're turned that on for their guests, that's generating dollars in their sleep, right? So the GM goes to bed, yet 100 of their guests are getting very curated, customized emails, thanking them for their patronage, asking them to come back, and they're booking and driving retention. And by doing that, we're able to actually generate incremental revenue. So $5,000 a month for an email campaign for all of your first-time diners, it's no lift for the operator, but it's 100% benefit for the business. And that's just one example. When you start to layer on marketing automation, with pre-shift for better service, you start to build that loyalty through your client base and your guest base that'll bring them back over and over again. And that's the benefit that SevenRooms brings to all of its partners.
Well, it's always a pleasure to have you or anyone from SevenRooms on here. Joel has been on several times in the past. I'm not sure if he give you a heads up or not, but we always end the podcast with a slight curveball. Now, I'm now going to ask you, we have a Amazon wish list, and we have for books, and we have a Spotify playlist for music. And I always ask my guests, what would you like to leave everyone listening with? It could be a song that has inspired you or means something to you, just helps you get your head in the zone, or a book that you'd like to recommend. It could be either, but all I'm going to ask is, what would you like to leave everyone listening today, and why?
Okay. It's a great question that I certainly wasn't prepared for. Let me look at so music's interesting because I'm very like, what am I doing? And I don't want to send people off into my brain, whether I'm working out or I'm at work getting prepped. But recently I read a book by recommendation. It's called The Collaborative Way.
Yeah.
Try to remember the author, but it's a great book, and it's a business-focused book. And it's all about how do you partner with your stakeholders to achieve the best outcomes for whatever you're working on. So I would recommend that to anyone that has stakeholders in their world, whether they're peer stakeholders, your bosses, your employees. It's a great way to help articulate and work through challenges when you're working with a variety of different stakeholders on an initiative. And so that can be for a restaurant operator. It can be for me at SevenRooms. It can probably be for yourself, Neil, in your world. But a great book, The Collaborative Way. I would recommend that to folks.
Fantastic choice. I've just looked it up very quickly. Lloyd Fickett and Jason Fickett, but I'll add that straight to our Amazon wish list so people can find it easily. And speaking of which, we have talked a lot about SevenRooms. We've talked about this new pre-shift feature. For anyone listening wanting to find out more information about that, contact your team, etc., what's the best starting point?
Of course. So SevenRooms.com. It's spelt out, SevenRooms.com. You can check out our website. You can request a demo, and then you can find us across all social media. It's at SevenRooms is the handle.
Well, I love what you're doing here. I always say technology works best when it brings people together, but I love how you're delivering personalized hospitality at scale. But the technology is invisible, and that's something that's incredibly exciting as well. But more than anything, just thank you for coming on, sharing your story, your insights, and even having time to leave us with a great book. Thanks for joining me today.
Of course, Neil. Thanks for giving us the opportunity to chat today.
And there you have it, folks. Another fascinating insight into the future of hospitality. So a big thank you to Austen for coming on and talking about SevenRooms. And for me, it was just exciting to hear how technology is not just streamlining operations, but enhancing guest experiences. And pre-shift is clearly more than just a tool. It's almost a strategic ally in the restaurant industry that's promising to revolutionize the way teams prep for their shifts and interact with their guests. So from allergy information to dining preferences, SevenRooms really just seem to be bringing personalised hospitality to the forefront at the moment, all while maintaining stringent privacy standards. So I hope you found this conversation as enlightening as I did today, and are excited about the future of hospitality tech as I am too. But I'd love to hear your innovative stories, any questions you might have, anything you want to add to the conversation. Email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com. Please stay tuned for the next episode. But more than anything, stay safe, stay curious, keep exploring the transformative power of technology. And a huge, huge thank you for taking the time to listen to this podcast. But until next time, don't be a stranger.